G'day. Here it is, day 32 and our very last day having entered into Santiago. The cathedral behind us here, it was yesterday when we did this because it was raining, and so it was just no place really for us to do a vlog. We were going to do one right in front of the cathedral, but the weather prevented us. So here is the next day with the cathedral behind us. We left Opedruso and made our way the 20 kilometers through rain. As a matter of fact, at the beginning, we stepped out from breakfast, having had a good breakfast, bacon and eggs at the cafe opposite our hotel. Stepped out into a really heavy rain. We looked at one another and thought, is this worth it? Should we just wait and take a taxi? But you know what? We just thought, no, we've got to finish this with integrity. So it doesn't matter what the weather brings, we're going to push on. We did. The inclemency didn't stop all day, but the rain from time to time did, if that makes sense. But we were walking through rain, made our way through the forest initially, the pine forest and the eucalyptus forest. Not really opportunity to smell much because the rain was just pelting down. Lots of puddles to avoid, and took a few photos of the rain drops just in the puddles, just making the concentric circles out. Just made interesting photography. There's always something, isn't there? If we don't have sunshine and can do brilliant photographs, we can do photographs where, reflecting the rain and reflecting, just what is happening in the present, in the moment, not to be grieving the fact that it's not like something else. So we pushed on. Came just 10 kilometers out to Lavicola. Now, Lavicola means washing of the end, and the end literally means the backside. And Lavicola is so named because going back 1,500 years, and since then, the pilgrims needed to wash themselves properly before they entered into Santiago. Now, that didn't mean necessarily having a whole bath and washing all the clothes. What it really meant was to get rid of the body odors and that which was, let me not go into too much detail, but I think you understand, not having the sanitary systems that we have now. Like it was just needing to do some personal hygiene, but the whole sense of purification before entering Santiago. Now, I want, as we go on from this point, to be reflecting from the point of view of pilgrims coming through here 500 years ago and before. So that 1,000 years before. Pushing on from Lavicola, the place of preparing and purifying, cleaning self to present to the cathedral and to God, to St. James, to Jesus. The pilgrims went on. Now, 5 kilometers further on from Lavicola is what is called the Mount of Glory. And it wasn't too glorious yesterday. It was quite wet and raining, so we didn't even take a photo of it. But it's that point as you come down the road in front of you is the chapel of St. Pedro. And that marks the Mount of Glory. And it's the first place on a clear day. Yesterday we didn't. But you can see the spires of the cathedral, just standing up against the horizon of the city. Now, centuries gone by, this was such a special time for the pilgrims because, don't forget, they had just crossed through all kinds of dangers and difficulties with the heart of making it here to Santiago de Compostela to connect with the relics of St. James, and as I say, through that, to connect with Jesus, James being one of his 3 favoured disciples. And you know, they would just fall on their knees. In fact, I read an account of a pilgrim just saying, we fell on our knees and we began to sing the Te Deum. However, we couldn't. We just broke into tears, and just the joy of having finally arrived and seeing our destination there. They were kneeling, but just couldn't continue singing until the tears had dried from their eyes, when again they stood up and sang and danced that we have arrived. Now, the other thing they did, out of a mark of respect, is if they were wearing sandals, and presumably they were, they took them off and walked barefoot for that last 5 kilometres into the cathedral. The pilgrims who rode on horseback got off the horse, and again, I think removed their shoes and led their horse in shoeless, to Santiago, to the cathedral, as a mark of respect and perhaps final penance. Just entering the cathedral. Now, you've got to remember, James and I are going to jump on a plane tomorrow to fly back to Sydney, Australia. These pilgrims had no such luxury. Having arrived in Santiago, maybe having come from somewhere in England, from Germany, from the Ukraine, from wherever, from France, they had to turn around and walk back again through the same challenges and difficulties. So their Camino hadn't actually come to an end. Their purpose for coming indeed had come, had been fulfilled, but Camino was going to go on for them. I guess in a different way, Camino is going to go on for us as well, but as I say, in a different way. Today, James and I went to the Pilgrim Mass in English, and the priest there, Father Manny, just quoted the Dean of the Cathedral, who said that the Camino is not just about the movement of the body, but the journey of the soul. And that's a thought really to hold and cherish. So we arrived in the rain, consequently didn't have the joy of catching up with too many of the pilgrims that we'd travelled with, because we needed to get out of the rain pretty quickly. Today we are just going to linger around the forecourt of the cathedral in the hope of seeing those who are a day behind us. Our reflection yesterday was, cherishing the love of God and drawing near to God through love. And Ignatius gives 3 ways of doing that, how important it is for us to draw near to the heart of God. And he says that we regularly should, and particularly in times of perhaps desolation or those times that we don't feel so close to him, there are 3 things that we can recall. First of all, the glory of creation. To just recall the glory of creation and just the wonderful things that God has done for us. You know, walking through Spain, one of the things that we reflected on, we saw the farm animals so much, the sheep, the cattle, the chickens, the turkeys, the geese, so many different animals. And we recognize, wow, Lord, look how it is that in creation you gave each flesh a a distinctive structure, cell structure, and therefore taste for human enjoyment in terms of the food that you provided. But just to be, every time we give grace, think, wow, like God, you've given a particular taste to every vegetable that complements one another, to the various meats or fish that we might eat, to the juices. How wonderful in creation. But anyway, that's just a thought about how it is that we give thanks to God for creation. But for that matter, the trees, the sky, just all that God has done. That's the first one. The second one is to recall the glory of the story of salvation, going right back to Genesis and God's promise to Adam and Eve when they fell, that the proto-gospel, the fact that the seed of the woman would trample the head of the serpent, and how indeed that is spelled out through the scriptures to Revelation, and indeed to the hope and the promise that Revelation gives us. But to focus, of course, also on the cross and the resurrection. So that's the second one, to really just recall the gift of salvation and how it is set out. And the third one then is to then recall the blessings that God has poured into our lives through the course of our lives. Perhaps like as we've done here on Camino, is to be just looking at the stages of our lives as we have walked. Those ways just to be able to focus on how it is that God has loved us. And as we give thanksgiving, to open our hearts to receive his love. The scripture that we focused on, meditated on, I don't think there was one. It was really to take those three there. So, we're done. What are we going to miss? I think we're going to miss, well, certainly friendships along the way and that crisscrossing of with other pilgrims and catching up and talking. I think we're going to miss the opportunity that we've had together walking and, just sharing from that deeper level the things that have come up in our hearts and being able to process those and pray about them. We're going to miss, I think, the arrows, the yellow arrows, and being guided by them, which we largely were. There were a few places where we lost, and most other pilgrims have times where they missed them as well. But just to be thinking perhaps those yellow arrows symbolize the scripture or the relationship that we have with God, as he says here, walk this way, follow me in life this way. There are so many other things, even the comfort of the boots, just the walking. Wow, having done, on average 22, 23 kilometers a day, our bodies are going to miss doing that a bit, we think. But Camino comes to an end here, but the Camino of life continues, and we take away the rich gifts that we have received in this walk. And I trust as you've been following us in this vlog that you too have been inspired, maybe to come do Camino, or if you're unable to do Camino, to have enjoyed it as we have walked it. God bless you. Thanks for following us. And we hope to come back for another time, God willing, where we can do yet another series and you can follow again. God bless. Bye-bye from James and me.